So a general update on what I have right now and what I am generally working on. So first thing I want to make abundantly clear to everybody is that I do not work for anybody. I do not get paid for any of this, and I do it just out of my own desire to do all of it. So everything I say, I don't want to upset manufacturers and vendors, but if it's a very bad product or something that's really terrible, I will not have any problem saying it, and they usually don't mind either. So I'm only here to present you with the best results I have found among all my testing, and now I have tested a lot of stuff, so I kind of sort of know how things are supposed to work for the most part. All right, so I'm going to go over all this real quick, and then I'm going to have a really like a little bit more of a detailed discussion about these two, which are the two best flying quads that I have ever flown, and they perform really, really fantastic. I'll tell you the differences and how and why they work a little bit later. Okay, so jeez, I don't even know where to start. So these are a bunch of my prototypes, and let's start with the batteries. So batteries, these are all the batteries I have currently that are working. I break batteries regularly when I hit things hard. So these are the ones that are currently working. Most of those China Hobbyline batteries, the white ones, were sent to me by them for testing. Those Infinity batteries from Banggood were sent to me for testing. Those graphene batteries I've had from Hobby King, I've had them for a while, and they're not good. And these Revo Electrics, I've also had them for a while, and they're also not very good. Okay, so here's the general thing about batteries. Do not buy high voltage batteries. They are a complete waste. They do not last at all. About 20 cycles, high voltage is dead. And if you charge them to just regular voltage, then you're just not getting a lot of capacity. These Revo Electrics high voltage packs are supposed to be 1500 milliamp packs, and they do charge to 1500 milliamps, but after about 25 cycles, they don't have any more punch left in them, and they also die very, very, very quick. Even though they're 1500, they die at like 700 milliamps. So don't buy any high voltage stuff. The Hobby King graphenes were good in the first couple of batches, but they're no longer very good. Just don't even bother getting those anymore. They're also too expensive for what they are. The Pyrodrone or Tattoo packs. This is a special pack. This is a Tattoo R-Line 1550 pack that's been remade and a little bit tweaked for Pyrodrone. This is one of the best packs I have. It is a little bit heavy, but it's one of the best packs I have. I had more of them, but I broke them all, so this is the last one I have remaining. It's a very good pack. It's it is the most, so Joshua Bardell has a great video on batteries, which I will link below, but for the most part, I look at, since I'm not doing any kind of real testing, I'm just looking at the punch and the user experience of the quality of the battery. This battery has the maximum amount of punch for the maximum amount of time of any battery that I've used in the past, except for Thunder Power. Thunder Power is a particularly special brand. I don't have any batteries left from them, but they are very good as well. So this is a special battery, but it's really, really expensive, so I can't really recommend it. It's also 1550, which means you're going to be running it on a relatively heavier or larger build. Something like this. This will support a 1550 pretty well. Preferably it would have 2207 motors rather than these 2206s, but that's another story altogether. Okay, so the China Hobbyline batteries. I have the 55C, I have the 70C, I have the 100C. The differences between all three of these are very minimal, surprisingly. The 100C does not really perform significantly better than the other two, even though it's so much bigger. It only weighs about 5 grams more, but my choice, if you were to buy them, would be the 70C. The 70C performs, the 55C is good, but the 70C lets you use a little bit more of its capacity. So I would recommend the 70C and none of the other ones. And this is really a value brand. So they're not giving you the absolute best performance, but they do perform damn well. And if you're putting them on something lightweight, like one of these things, or this one, then you don't really need the super duper high performance of the highest end batteries. These batteries perform just fine when you put them on a light build. The Infinity batteries from Banggood, I don't even know how they pulled it off, but these are pretty darn good batteries. They perform right there with the Tattoos. I am truly trying to see which batteries will last the longest. So in the future, I will have an update on that. For now, these infinity batteries from Banggood are among the best batteries I've tried. Particularly the 850 is as good as anything else. They have just as much punch as the tattoos, just as much punch as anything else out there. They are supposed to be graphenes. They weigh about the same as everything else. So my best conclusion is that they're coming from the same factory and they're using the same cells. So these are actually good batteries. They're not cheap though. They're the same price as tattoos or really anything else. So you're getting into the thing where you get what you're getting what you pay for. The next really big thing I want to show you guys is this guy. These two guys. This is Emax's new 3520 motor. It is a massive motor. I don't even know if I got that measurement right. It's a massive motor. It is 192 grams. This is a 2306 next to it. They made me, so when I got back from Croatia on the show that I was on where I was building a whole bunch of weird stuff, so then when I came back, I had a discussion with the Emax and their engineers, and we came together what we would think would be the best possible size motor for a 13-inch blade, 12 to 13-inch blade for an octocopter X1 class racer. So this is what I'm going to be building with these motors that Emax sent me. Thank you so much, Emax. Emax is really killing it with their products these days. The Baby Hawk is freaking awesome for what it is. I can't even believe I just dropped this motor. This is like one of 10 motors. So it's a 3520 and it's 500 kV. It's designed to run on 6S with a 12 to 13-inch blade, and it is massive. So my understanding of speeds of copters and the way they work is that in general, if you have large blades, they have to spin slower, so you have less top speed. There have been a couple of X1 or large-scale racing class videos demoing things from, I think, GemFan, and then something from Jordan and Zach, which all look amazing, but they say that they're going 100+ miles per hour, which, I mean, my little tiny things barely break 100 miles per hour on 4S, so I can't even imagine something that big going that fast. I think that the radar guns they're using are probably picking up some of the blades. That is a thing that does happen. Sometimes you pick up the blades instead of the copter and you get inaccurate speed readings. On the smaller ones, it's not so bad because it's generally small, so the blades aren't really bouncing around too much optics. But on the larger scale things, I do think that the blades are playing a significant factor in the speed that the radar gun is reading. I cannot imagine something that big moving at over 100 miles per hour. It's really tough to do. And through my calculations, the way I do top speed calculations is that I basically just multiply the pitch of the blade by the RPM of the motor that's expected on the voltage, and I tell Google to do the calculation for me, and it gives me a miles per hour reading of the highest theoretical limit that it could go. This doesn't take into account wind speed or anything else really. And I do realize that so my concept with the X1 large scale racing is to build something that has smaller blades that spin faster to give me a higher final pitch velocity, than having huge blades on like a quad. So this is going to be a flat octo, and it's going to be awesome. And my frame design is generally going to be something like all my other designs. Basically, it's very easy to manage, very easy to repair, very practical to use. So I hope that'll actually catch on in this class. It's a very new class, so we'll see what happens. Other things I've been experimenting with is the 2-inch. I still have not gotten this thing to fly well. I think it has to do with this this flight controller I'm using. It's an F4. It's a 20x20 F4. I don't think it's very good. I'm gonna have to switch it out. The Torrent from Blade flies awesome, and I expect this little guy to fly significantly better than the Torrent because it's making the equivalent power and it weighs like half as much. Speaking of this class, the China Hobby line 500 milliamp batteries are not a good choice because when I got them, they came a little bit pre-puffed. So they're probably using different cells for this particular battery. I don't recommend them. I think that Puroflip actually has a 450 milliamp 3S, which is really good for that general class. This is a 2S battery. I don't even recommend 2S. 2S is fine for indoors, but for outdoors, you can't really run 2S. It's just too slow. The next thing is these batteries. So this is Fat Shark's 18650 battery case for the goggles, which thank you very much for making because it just makes sense. But they are really rude people for not putting a proper balance connector on this thing, which means that you cannot charge your batteries inside this thing. I understand why. It's because they think that we will screw up balancing, or you're using cells that have protection internally, so it'll screw up. Something will happen, and a campfire will catch fire. Which to them, I would say you should have just put the balance lead on and just set a warning: don't charge inside this case. They expect you to have a separate charger, take your cells out, charge them, and put them back in the same case, which is just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept. Anyways. It's a good case. It's great. It fits the batteries fantastic, and I mean it's much nicer and cleaner than anything I built before. But you also have to be careful about what cells you buy. The best cell that you can buy for this case, or just general use 18650, is the Panasonic NCR 18650 battery. This is the battery that the Tesla cars are all based off of, and the new battery that Tesla made, which is like a I don't know what, like a 104 like 40 or something. I don't know what it is. It's a little bit bigger than this cell. This battery is the best battery in the 18650 class, and it is actually I've measured it at 3350 milliamps, and that's on like an 800 milliamp draw, which is pretty high for a cell like this, which is not designed for high amp draw. You also have to be careful about buying these batteries because there's a lot of fake ones out there. This is a fake one, and you will note that it is actually not the right height. It's not the right size. As far as my knowledge goes, I used to do a lot of like LED stuff, and the LED guys are crazy about these batteries. I think that this is what a real NCR 18650 cell looks like. There's a ton of eBay sellers, and I'm not going to link one in the description below because I don't even know if this is real. I'm actually still measuring it and testing it, so I can't be certain, but I'm 90% sure that this is a genuine Panasonic NCR 18650 cell. If you've been watching the video this long, this frame is actually upside down. It's designed to be like this, and it's designed for the battery to go up here, and for the GoPro to be up front, and the FPV camera to be down here. And I have not built it because it's freaking hideous. I don't even know what I was thinking when I had them cut this frame, because it's clearly the ugliest frame I've ever seen. It's not heavy. It's about 96 grams, and it's very sturdy feeling, but I'm not going to build it. I'm actually going to give this one away to you guys, but I want to give it to somebody that actually wants to build it. So not somebody new that's like just starting the hobby. I would not send this to you because it's not worth your time. I would just waste your time. These loops are for battery straps, and the battery straps, so there's 2 battery strap locations in the middle and back here, so it doesn't hit the props. It's a 235 millimeter frame, and I basically send it to you as is because I don't have a camera mount for it for the FPV camera, and I don't have a camera mount for it for the GoPro, so you'd have to basically make that yourself or somehow jimmy rig it on your own. But I will send this frame free to somebody that posts below what components they're going to put on it and if they actually want it. Yes, that is all. Next thing, of course, I forgot to mention this. This is the Foxeer Aero 3. I have done some camera reviews in the past, and this is the version of the Aero that has the OSD built in. They have redone all of the OSD and all of the menus and given it a magnesium aluminum mix case. I don't know if it's actually magnesium. It feels like just some hard aluminum. It feels really nice. There might be an issue with the case actually breaking if you like fixate it hard in a frame and it gets hit hard. I don't know. I know one guy that broke the case, but in general, the case is a huge improvement. Inside, the board is actually dampened by like some foam dampers around the metal, so it doesn't touch the metal. With the Pyroflip 1.8 lens, I think that this is the best view you can get from a Sony 600 camera. It's really nice, and the three mounting holes on the side give you a really wide option of how to mount the thing, particularly in my frames. It's a really good camera. I'm just having one issue with it, which I'm discussing with Foxeer, is that any frame that I put it on, I get insane wobbles, and not wobbles, just jitters and vibration in the video. Not jello, because it's a CCD, so it doesn't give you jello, but I get crazy like shakes, and it's really hard to fly because of those shakes. My Monster CMOS cameras don't have any issues with jello, and they look perfect on the same build. They look perfect. So I don't know what it is. Maybe I just got a defective one. Maybe they sent me a defective one. But for the most part, this is the best looking camera that I don't know what they changed. I think they changed something about the sensor, but it's the best looking sensor. And I don't know if the jello thing is just my camera or if it's in general. But I do know that Foxeer is also making a 1000 TV line CCD. Again, that's a 1000 TV line CCD sensor. And it's 16:9, so it's basically going to replace the Monster, and it's a CCD that's 1000 TV lines. I cannot stress that enough. I'm very excited for that camera because I love the Monster, but CCDs definitely do give you a slightly brighter image with slightly more dynamic range, so it would be really nice to have a CCD. It also gives you a global shutter, which you can read about that on Wikipedia if you want, but a global shutter which reduces the jello completely. It pretty much eliminates the jello, so the fact that I'm getting shakes and wobbles in this camera is kind of astonishing because it shouldn't happen on a CCD sensor. This frame design, this is the one that I designed really quick. And I actually like this design because it's much sleeker looking than the other nasty thing. It's using massive 4mm arms, so it's super durable. Unfortunately, this version of it weighs 104 grams, which I'm not too happy about. So I have another version, a version 2 of this frame coming, and it is going to be more of the design language of these two frames down here. And I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that this becomes my main acro build, but I'll show you that one, which might make me think otherwise. Basically, the center battery on top does make a difference in the way it flies. It flies more centered when you do rolls and flips, not more rolls, not flips. When you do rolls, it rolls around this spot right here. So it is actually making a difference in the way it flies. I can definitely feel it in the air as well. Also, having such a wide stance, it's 235. It has to be 235 because there's no other way to get the battery to fit on top of here without slicing everything up if it's not that big. It has less prop wash in general because it is wider, so the flight controller just has better time managing everything, and the props are more effective at doing their job on the corners of the craft. So it does work better. It's an exceptionally smooth quad. I'm going to be building version 2 with these motors, actually. I'll show you those next. So Emax sent me these motors. These are their 2306. They're the 2400 kV. They also have them in the 2750 kV. These are the highest quality motors I've felt. They feel freaking awesome. And if I was building a 6S rig, I would look at these motors very seriously because I think they will handle 6S pretty well. I'd want an extra millimeter of height for 6S, but I think they're going to be really good on 6S. They're unfortunately 34.5 grams. And for me, what I'm used to, that's a little bit too much, but they're extremely high quality. They're the toughest feeling motors. They have the best build quality that I've felt. It's similar build quality to Brother Hobby, but they're much better construction quality in the sense that I don't think it's going to be really hard to break this motor in a crash. I think they will take punishment better than any Brother Hobby motor, any motor that Brother Hobby has made. So it's a really good job on Emax. I hope that in the future they come out with a version that has like no bottom bell, that's hopefully a gram lighter, and maybe a thinned out top of the bell, so it's maybe a gram lighter. So if they get this motor down to 30 or 31 grams, I would be much happier. But in general, excellent motor. So very good on that part. And they sent me these props. These are very secret props. These props are the best props I have ever flown. These are amazing props. Amazing props. This motor, these props were designed for this motor, for the torque curve of this motor, which is now the first prop that has been designed specifically for the torque curve of a motor, which is really amazing because it's going to perform excellent on this motor. I've put it here on the 2206, 2522 kV on this quad over here, but it's going to perform excellent on the 2306. It feels like it's going to be just about perfect. So now let me tell you about this prop. This prop has been designed by Sage Thayer, and I'm not even supposed to tell you all this information, but I'm basically going to tell you some amazing things about the prop. The prop is first and foremost the fastest prop, so tri-blade. This prop will replace all tri-blades for me. For me, I will not fly any other tri-blades but this prop in the coming forward. I won't fly the 5040s anymore. There's just no point. This is so much better, and I'll tell you why. So this prop was designed, number one, to reduce prop wash, and it actually works. When I could not get a perfect tune on any of my quads. When I put these props on this quad, I had a perfect tune, and I put them on that quad and it had a perfect tune, and I put them on that quad and it had a perfect. It basically removes prop wash from the equation completely. So it's amazing. It is designed for about 70 to 75 miles per hour cruising speed, which is incredible, and it has fantastic low speed control. That's the part that blew my mind. When I first flew this prop, I couldn't believe that it had very similar low speed control as the 5x4x3. And that is a very hard thing to do because that is a very slow blade. So I'm not going to tell you anything else about this prop. They didn't want me to even share what I just did, but I am very impressed with this prop, and I frankly feel sorry for all the other prop companies because this prop will be the #1 prop for some time. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be very easy to make a prop that's better than this. I think Emax has kind of even shot themselves in the foot for making this prop because I don't think that they can make a better prop after this. This is amazing. They also have a twin blade version for the 2750 kV, and yeah, that's going to be great on 2750 kV. It's going to be, actually, I don't even know which one I would prefer. The 2750 kV is going to be way faster with a twin blade on like this than this tri-blade. So interesting. Okay, so between these two quads, so this is the real discussion, which I wanted to actually give you guys after so many minutes. So this is my 4-inch on the 1407 3600 kV motors, and this is my 5-inch on the 2206. This one, the 4-inch, weighs 180 grams dry weight. No, it's like 178 grams dry weight, and this one weighs 255 grams dry weight, as seen here. These are fantastic numbers, and Brian Morris previously told me that his ideal weight is 250 grams dry, so that his all-up weight is around 400 grams with battery. And once again, he's got like 3 years on me, so once again, he is right. And 250 grams dry weight, around that is really an ideal dry weight for a racer. And both of these actually have very similar disc loading properties once you put the battery on. So in terms of the disc loading theory, they're both very similar. The 4-inch, okay, so I don't know which one's faster. So mainly because this is the prototype frame, and I can't get any more tilt on my camera. If I could get more tilt, I could fly it much faster. So I don't actually know if this one's faster. This one feels faster, but I can't go forward. I can only go up fast, so I can't really tell. The 4-inch zips around like mad crazy. I have never flown a quad that rips so hard as this 4-inch. And these props, these are the HQ 5045 props. Just the plain 5045 are the perfect props for this motor. Again, I would not run any other prop on this motor. I do not recommend you run 5-inch props on this motor. That was a stupid idea. and I do not recommend you run tri-blade 4-inch props on this motor because it can't spin it well. This is actually a 3-inch motor. It really does perform well on 3-inch, and it's not really designed for 4-inch, but this 4-inch blade is very easy to spin, low drag, and it performs excellent on this blade. It is really, really zippy. This is the zippiest quad I have flown. It is really, really good. It has such a high cruising speed, it's crazy. This is the most powerful quad I've flown. It feels incredible for acro and feels nuts for racing, but I definitely need more camera tilt, so I can't really do a proper explanation of that. Basically, the 4-inch feels much more nimble and much more zippy. The 5-inch feels way more powerful. They both have very similar power to weight as well. They both share about a 13-to-1 power to weight ratio with the battery, so that's a very good number. I think I've been very spoiled with powerful quads. And the 4-inch frame, this is my 4-inch version of this frame. This 4-inch frame is very durable. Sergio's been flying it around, and 2 other people have been flying it around. It hasn't, I mean, they've hit trees and concrete and whatnot. It hasn't broken, and if it does break, it's so simple to change an arm that it's not a big deal. I really wouldn't recommend running a motor this small on 5-inch, or I don't even know if an 1806 is a good idea to run on 5-inch. After running this prop, I'm not convinced that the smaller stuff is actually very good for 5-inch, because this prop is designed for torque. So it's designed for you to use a lower kV high torque motor, and I think that on a light build, it's going to be good on a 2204. So basically, this frame is also very good. It's the same kind of design language as that frame. They have 4mm arms, the other one is 3mm arms. This is a 5-inch frame with 22 size motors. I think that the motor choice that I've put on here is actually overpowered. I can't even believe I'm saying that, but I think that there's actually too much power in this quad. It's too much power to properly control. I think that a 2205 or a 2204 is going to be a perfect match for this kind of frame build, and it's also going to put your weight down at like 240 grams, which will let you use a 1500 battery, which will make it perfect, and it'll give you really good flight times and really high speed. I'm going to try this prop. I know this prop was designed for a 2306, and it's not really intended for a smaller motor, but I think that on a light build, the motor will not have a difficult time spinning this prop, and the 22 width of the 2204s that are coming out will have hopefully enough torque to spin this blade, and I think that it will be a perfect match. I think a 2204 or a 2205 in 2522 kV with this prop on this build around 240-250 grams is going to be the perfect setup for racing. I'm really looking forward to that. These are the 2 best flying quads I have ever flown. Ever flown. These are amazing. I don't want to come down when I'm flying them. They're really incredible quads. I'm really, after all my testing, this is where I've landed. This is definitely where I've landed. And oh yes, one other thing. Man, there's so much. I'm sure I'm forgetting a whole bunch of stuff too. On this quad, I'm running the 4-in-1 SpeedX 30 amp ESC. I have tried a lot of 4-in-1 ESCs, and this particular one is the best 4-in-1 ESC that I've tried yet. It performs stellar, and it's very easy to build with. They just designed it right for this kind of a build. So I'm very happy to say that if you're going to get a 4-in-1, I definitely recommend this one. And I recently talked to Boris about 4-in-1s and general ESCs and why there's dipping and twisting and other issues. And after he analyzed the black box and the footage that I gave him, he actually found out that there's actually desyncing going on, and that's why you're getting a twist or a dip or something. The anti-gravity mode does help significantly with the weird dips, but the twisting can't be compensated for anti-gravity. So it's really just it's an ESC issue. It's primarily an ESC issue, and I don't know if it's the FETs failing or the ESC just desyncing or just something's going on with the ESCs. And when you have a 4-in-1 like the DY, this is the DYS 4-in-1. I had a prototype one which was really bad. This is the 20 amp DYS 4-in-1, which is much better than the prototype, but it still has a very minor amount of dip, and I think that has to do with the actual capacity. So this is a 30 amp 4-in-1, and the motors are definitely not pushing this ESC to its limits. So I think that it has an easier time managing the amps, and I don't think the FETs are actually saturating to the point that I'm noticing any dippage or any kind of variation in power. Whereas this 20 amp one, With these props, it's fine. It's no issue. But if I put bigger props on it, I think that the ESC is getting pushed to its limit, and the FETs are being saturated to the point where I'm starting to see some dipping and starting to see some desyncing and some issues with the ESC. So basically, for the 4-in-1s, you got to be really careful. If you're running a 20 amp 4-in-1, I wouldn't even recommend running 5-inch on it. I think it should really stick to 4-inch. And if you're running a 5-inch setup, you really do need a 30 amp 4-in-1 or just a higher powered 4-in-1. I think that's it. Probably not, but I have more stuff in my room to discuss, but later date. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh yeah, so one other thing. So one of my friends said that I should do a questions video about me. So I don't really do that kind of stuff. I don't know if anybody's really interested in me. I think they're just more interested in the stuff that I do. But I'm open to all questions, and if you've really been watching this long, then thank you. I mean, I don't think anybody really watches my videos for 20 minutes, but thank you very much, and feel free to ask any comments or questions, anything in the questions in the comments below, and I will respond to them in a future video. If they're about me personally, I will respond to them in a future video. Don't forget to floss. Please, please floss.